We are going to view about Tito Adungosi. Tito Adungosi, very many people, especially from the Iteso tribe, have wanted to know about him. There is, for somebody who was in the limelight for less than 2 years, it is hard to talk about him for long. But Tito Adungosi comes from a place called Chakol. Hapana Maka, but the place is called Chakol. And those people hawakai kama Wataita, wanakaa kama Chakol kidogo. Idewa and Okochil, forgive me. So, he came from a place called Chakol. He went to school, completed his Form 6, and those days we only had 2 universities. We had the private university which taught theology at in Nandi called Baraton, and we had Nairobi University. We used to take 3 years. 844 is the one who came up with 4 years in the university. CBC has gone back to our system where university is only 3 years. Now, he joined the university and started education. By the time he was in the second, going to the third year, he was made the Sonu chairman. Nowadays they are called Sonu president. Wakati ya Jomo Kenyatta na Moi kujiita president, the president was only reserved for two posts. The president of Kenya and the head of KANU, the ruling party. And those 2 posts were occupied by the same person. So anybody else calling himself at media president or residence, that one you'll be detained. So he was the chairman of Sonu. And those days, Sonu ilikuwa inawaka. Do you know whose vice president was? Isaac Salat, not Isaac Salat, but Isaac Ruto, the first term governor for Bomet. And if you check on past leaders of Sonu, you have Kina Wafula Buke, you have, actually being the leader of Sonu was prestigious. I think the last person to be known was Babu Owino. After Babu Owino, unless you have a connection with the Nairobi University, after Babu Owino, you ask anybody who took over from Babu Owino or who is the present leader of Sonu, I think majority would not know. But those days, the leader of Sonu was very much known. And he had influence. We have how many universities? And each university has its own chancellor. But when Kenya had 1, 2, 3, up to a few universities, the president used to be the chancellor of those universities. But when the universities became many, various people became chancellors of various places. Now imagine the president who was the chancellor of the only public university coming for the graduation. The Sonu chairman sits next to him. I think that thing entered into Adungosi's mind. He felt that whenever there is a function, you see he sits. Those who work in the military will understand somebody called CMC. CMC is one of you, but is your chairman. So he's so powerful that if the president or the commander-in-chief comes to the military camp, he sits on the president's right. So the chairman of Sonu sits on the president's right, and the vice chancellor sits on the chancellor's left. So unaendelea hivyo hivyo. The minister for education sits very far. Nowadays, the minister for education sends representatives because there are so many universities. They used to complain. Most complaint used to center around chapati, kuku, and such things. and what they used to call academic freedom. Yeah, I remember them all the time talking of they want academic freedom. I do not know what academic freedom was, especially to students, maybe to the lectures. One day, I also got concerned. He stood on a platform, and he was seen in the newspapers pointing a finger and saying that he was ordering the Minister for Education to come on such and such a day with answers on such and such questions. By that time, I was still, and I had not even joined the police, but from where I was, Garissa, I felt that he had overstepped. So these people used to, you know, Babuino came up with the comrade Ria, comrade. But during those days, it used to be power, comrade power, comrade power. So it reached a stage where the Air Force, that is a different story, the Air Force attempted to overthrow the government. When they attempted to overthrow the government, they knew they were few. First of all, the Air Force itself were few. And two, most of the Ministry of Defense soldiers had gone to the northern Kenya for practice. And you know, askari putting on uniform gives a certain picture. So the airmen went to the university halls of residence with the guns. You know, they knew there were few. So they broke into the store, which kept their uniform, stole excessive uniform. Then they went to the armory, stole rifles, and went to the university. You know, hata ukishikwa, in vehicle insurance wanasemaga, in case of an accident, don't accept liability. It is very hard to find somebody caught red-handed and admitting the offense. But here you are, these people came. We are told, according to them, themselves say that they were forced by airmen. Others were saying that some of their colleagues were killed. But a good number of them willingly donned the Kenya Air Force uniform. You can even see Adungosi, when he was arrested, he was putting on an Air Force uniform. So the impression that the Kenya Air Force wanted was, for example, you have 1,000 soldiers in Isili, or you have 1,000 airmen in Isili. Then you go somewhere, in this case the university, get hold of same number of people, you don them with uniform, and you give them rifles. And you see, when they walk around, civilians will say, hey, askari ni wengi. But there is a problem. In a case of shootout, when it comes to shootout, you see the GSU, and you see this thing was led by GSU. The army never want to admit that. And that is why you see Kindiki's operation, Maliza Uhalifu, is headed by the police, and it's so successful. However, when the GSU came and the army, they were looking for anybody donning Air Force uniform, and especially those with rifles. You know, you're already treated as dangerous armed person. But the funny thing is, you are a university student, and this is the first time you have ever been in close proximity with a rifle. So they were, and you see, we are trained. Even right now, since I left service, I've never touched a gun. But if I hear bullets in the air, there is a way I react. Lie low, try to establish where, and then there is that procedure. It is there. But for somebody who has never been trained in that, you see, even if he's told, simama, bebe mikono juu, he fumbles a bit, he gets confused, he gets shot. That is how it was. Then, Adungosi was arrested, taken to court, and charged with treason. You know, immediately the airmen went to the university. They called the leader of Sonu to address other students. And it is unfortunate that Adungosi did not have the legal language. You know, unaweza kuwa na a PhD lakini when it comes to law, you are illiterate. So he stood up and said that the university students were loyal to the government of the day. Now, who was the government of the day? It was the Air Force. It has been argued elsewhere that his life was in danger and he was doing so under gun. You see, those are the things he should have given evidence in court. But he didn't know the procedure, he didn't do it. A lot of people have been jailed because of simple things. And if you find somebody as the head of the students' union in the university, having his knowledge of law at that level, then where are we going as a nation? Because even that time, we had people who never stepped in school or even went up to primary level. So he was, if he would have given evidence by saying that, you know, by law, if a person has a gun next to you, you are not responsible for whatever you say or do. He just had to say that, I will not repeat what I said, but I want the court to know that as I was talking, behind me there was an armed person. And whatever I was to say was to save myself and comrades. If he would have just said that, he would have been released. But he didn't know law. We let us put it that way. Then he was jailed. And when he was jailed, just before he was released, he became sick. Ugonjwa inakujaga wakati wowote, it has no time. Yeah, he became sick. What killed him is not the sickness, but you see, I've even interacted with people who have been in jail. They say that in jail when you are sick, hata badala ya kupewa dawa or anything, unapewa uji bakuli moja extra, sugarless porridge. So what killed Adungosi, for the Iteso people, Ketwan Ketwan. That is how in Kiteso saying mutu ni mutu, anasema Ketwan Ketwan. So Itesos just know that what killed him was that if he would have been taken to hospital early, hata wewe kesho, if you become sick and you don't go to hospital, you'll die. So that is what made Adungosi die. And it is unfortunate that he died shortly before he was released.